Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And this week in data breaches is absolutely nuts. We have had just a lot of spectacular data breaches. And as always, I'd like to thank the following people that sent me this information. Chris Fallon, Jason Dance, Richard Reefer, Barrett Peterson, and Jacqueline Wolf. Thank you so unbelievably much. Let's dive right in because I don't want to waste time. And let's start with Ohlone Community College District in the state of California here in the US. And since January 20th, the district says it has, quote, experienced a network disruption that does not allow access to certain files on its network. In other words, it looks like they got hit, they got compromised, and data from former students and staff, as well as current ones, is caught up in this. Now, this includes a ton of personal information that is likely names, dates of birth, student ID numbers, social security numbers, U.S. alien registration numbers, because it's college, race and ethnicity, driver's license numbers, financial account numbers, routing numbers, financial institution names, medical information, health insurance information, class lists, course schedules, grades, transcripts, disciplinary files, and the kitchen sink. So if you have anything to do whatsoever with Ohlone Community College in California, you definitely want to check in there. Moving on. Let's talk about Advent Health Partners because they've been investigating a security issue after finding suspicious activity on employee email accounts, and they issued a notice in September of 2021 to all of their affected customers, which means we are about to see a whole bunch of health systems start to declare that we're using Advent as a vendor. The first one this past week was Herman Health System in Houston, Texas, claiming 6,260 of their patients were affected. We will see more. But heads up, Herman Health System patients in Houston, Texas, or around, I assume, Houston, Texas. There you go. Moving on. Let's talk about the Morley companies in the state of Michigan because on February 21st, they began to send notice of data security incident letters to current and former employees as well as their clients. In total, the data of 521,046 individuals was compromised in this breach. I don't have more specifics than that other than the fact it was a ransomware attack on August 1st of 2021, and now we are learning about this now. So if you have anything to do with the Morley companies out of the state of Michigan, heads up. Moving on, let's talk about the Parasol Umbrella Company. I've heard of them, interestingly enough. They had a cyber attack on their systems about 5 weeks ago, and this has just come to light. It is a suspected ransomware attack, and I don't have much more information at this time, as I found basically one site really talking about this in terms of news, and that site had a paywall, and I'm not paying for one article. There you go. Don't call me cheap, just call me educated. Moving on. Let's talk about voting software company Easy Vote Solution. That's the last thing we ever want to hear is a voting company having problems, but here's what's happening. They said this past Tuesday that they experienced a data breach on January 31 of this year, resulting in some Georgia voters' registration information being shared on the internet. That is according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, major publication out of Atlanta. Now, no social security numbers or driver's license numbers were shared online, according to EasyVote's CFO, Charles Davis. However, public information such as names, addresses, races, and birth dates were shared in an online forum. EasyVote offers basically services to simplify the check-in process for voters in many Georgia counties, including Fulton, Oconee, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, or Oconee, and Paulding. I believe Fulton is one of the larger ones around Atlanta, but Georgians, you can correct me on that. Now, the software is not connected to the official voter registration system in Georgia, and therefore it is not really affecting voters as they're voting. And basically, it's not used in election results or to count ballots. So this will have no effect on the election. You cannot look at this and say, aha, they were hacked and therefore votes were changed and somebody else really won, that kind of thing. We are not having that in this breaches of the week. No voters were affected in that manner because no ballots are counted on that system. It purely is a check-in system for voting. I just want to stress that because I don't want this used as evidence by somebody when it shouldn't be. Moving on. Let's talk about Vodafone Portugal. Vodafone being obviously the massive German mobile cellular company. This is obviously their Portuguese division, and their Portuguese unit did say this past Tuesday that an attacker attacked them overnight and disrupted their service, but they assured their customers in Portugal that their data has not been compromised as a result of this incident, which they are still investigating. Vodafone Portugal said in a statement basically that its systems faced technical problems this past Monday evening, about a week ago or so. There you go, with thousands of customers reporting that they were unable to make calls or access the internet on their phones or computers. They later discovered the technical issues were caused by what they described as a deliberate and malicious cyber attack. And I quote, "There is no evidence customer data has been accessed or compromised. An in-depth investigation of the criminal act will continue for an indefinite period with the involvement of the competent authorities," as opposed to, I guess, the incompetent authorities, which you never want to work with anyway. So make sure that when you have a data breach, you're contacting the competent authorities. I think that's probably something lost in translation from Portuguese to English, but I did find that amusing. Moving on. Speaking of phone carriers, let's talk about Croatian phone carrier A1 Hrvatska. And I believe I am pronouncing that correctly. Croatians, I apologize if I'm not. Up to 10% of A1, I'm just going to call them A1 Hrvatska's customers, which is roughly 200,000 people, could have their personal details compromised due to a security breach. The Croatian cellular operator said, and I quote, "Unfortunately, despite advanced protection measures and the constant raising of the level of security, an incident occurred related to one of the user databases, which compromised part of the personal data of A1 users." So heads up to you, if you use Croatian phone carrier A1 Hrvatska, there you go. And I know I actually have listeners and viewers in Croatia. I occasionally get messages from there. Moving on, let's head on over to Slovenia, basically the home of former First Lady Melania Trump. And we are talking about Pop TV. That is the most popular TV channel, apparently, in the country of Slovenia. A cyber attack disrupted the operations of Pop TV, and the impact impacted Pop TV's, say that 5 times, computer network, and prevented the company from showing any computer graphics for the evening edition of 24UR. That is apparently their daily news show. The night edition basically was canceled altogether, and a truncated version of the news aired on the company's website, according to a statement released on February 8th. That was the day of the attack. The next day, Wednesday the 9th, Pop TV said that the attack also hit some of its web servers, including VOYO or Voyo, which is an on-demand streaming platform that offers channels from its parent company, along with licensed movies and TV series. So if you're in Slovenia and Pop TV wasn't working for you last week, now you know why. Heads up. Moving on. Let's talk about the Foreign Office of the UK, or the UK Foreign Office, because they say that they were hacked in a major cybersecurity incident, forcing it to parachute in additional support with extreme urgency from its cybersecurity contract, BAE Systems Applied Intelligence. Now, the UK government only revealed the existence of the, quote, serious cybersecurity incident affecting the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office through a public tender announcement. Tender, not Tinder, and I don't think the government is using Tinder to announce these kinds of things. Contract information released by the government on February 4th shows that the department was forced to call in urgent support from the security firm to support remediation and investigation of the FCDO, that's the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, and they initially refused to comment on this when they were approached by publications. The department employs 17,300 staff in diplomatic and developmental offices, including 280 overseas embassies and high commissions. Obviously, this is a very critical branch for the UK government. Hopefully, they'll get back on their feet. Moving on, let's talk about blockchain platform Wormhole. Basically, attackers stole more than $324 million in cryptocurrency from Wormhole. The developers basically behind the blockchain bridge confirmed this past Wednesday. The platform provides a connection that allows for the transfer of cryptocurrency between different decentralized finance blockchain networks. Wormhole said in a series of tweets on Wednesday afternoon that thieves made off with 120,000 WETH, or wrapped Ethereum, worth nearly $324 million US at current exchange rates. Could be higher, could be lower, could be 100 million, could be a billion at this point. God knows with cryptocurrency. Now, the platform's network was also taken offline for maintenance. Certus One, the developers of Wormhole, offered the attacker a $10 million bug bounty for the exploit details and return of the cryptocurrency. Essentially, that was, and here we are. And I don't know if they've got that back or whatnot, but if you use Wormhole to move your cryptocurrency around the blockchains, heads up to you, you might have just been hijacked. Moving on. Let's talk about the National Math and Science Initiative here in the United States, because according to information recently submitted to the Maine Attorney General's office, basically on or around October 13th of last year, the National Math and Science Initiative learned of unusual and suspicious activity on their network. And there you go. They basically had an investigation, and an attacker accessed certain private systems for an entire month between September 23 through October 18 of last year. Approximately 191,255 individuals were compromised, and we're talking names, social security numbers, and addresses. So heads up to you if you have anything to do with the National Math and Science Initiative. Moving on, let's talk about the Injured Workers Pharmacy. According to the information recently submitted, once again, to Maine's Attorney General, you can tell which website I went to check these out. Basically, May 11, they had the Injured Workers Pharmacy learned of suspicious activity relating to employee email accounts, and there you go. So they got hit between January 16th through May 12th of last year, and approximately 75,771 individuals were compromised. Names and social security numbers are what they are claiming were stolen. Moving on. Let's talk about the Roper St. Francis Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. They reported that roughly 6,000 patients are directly affected by a data breach that allowed attackers to steal information such as medical records and personal info. An unknown attacker gained access to an employee's email that happened between June 13th and 17th of last year, was discovered on July 8th of last year, and it looks like the leaked information contains names, birth date, detailed medical records, insurance information, and social security numbers. So, if you are a patient at Roper St. Francis Hospital in Charleston, South Kakalaka, heads up to you. Moving on, let's talk about third-party hotel reservations provider Sabre Hospitality Solutions. Basically, they had a credit card data breach of Sabre's SynXIS hotel reservation system, and Sabre's investigation found it was contained to, and I quote, a limited subset of hotel reservations, but an unauthorized party did have access to credit card numbers, expiration dates, and cardholder names. And from August 10 of 2016 to March 9th of 2017, guest information related to a group of hotel reservations, basically unencrypted payment card information reservation system, booked through Sabre Central Reservation System SynXIS, was accessed by an unauthorized party. And the hotels now that have to declare data breaches, and we have two major hotel chains. First one is the Four Seasons, massive luxury hotels, and the other one is the Trump Hotels, founded, or I guess run by the former president of the United States. Moving on. Let's talk about Yemeketspedi. I am butchering that. I apologize to all of those in Turkey, because this is Turkey's online largest food delivery website and smartphone app. It's basically the Turkish DoorDash from what I've read. Now, Turkey's Personal Data Protection Board, the KVKK, has imposed an administrative fine of 1.9 million Turkish lira, I believe, which is roughly $140,113 US on Yemeketspedi due to a cyber attack that went undetected for 8 days. The platform's database was breached by attackers reportedly demanding ransom, and that had initially been denied by the platform. The KVKK noted that the web application server belonging to the company responsible for the data was accessed by installing an application and running commands due to the vulnerability in the server, and more than 21 million users in Turkey were affected by this. So heads up to you if you're in Turkey and you use Yemeketspedi, I think that's correct. There you go, the DoorDash of Turkey. Moving on. Let's talk about Illinois' Housing Development Authority, or the IHDA. Now, a portal basically which Illinois tenants could connect to, basically that were impacted by COVID-19. And if you are a tenant, you can apply for rental assistance, and it is back online after a programming problem compromised some personal information. Now, the portal went offline, and all access to external users was blocked while the agency basically resolved the issue. The portal went back online this past Thursday after the IDHA found a coding error on the application and its website. The IDHA says that the error was likely affected about 100 out of the over 89,000 rental assistance applications. And so heads up to you if you've applied to the Illinois Housing Department Authority for rental assistance due to COVID-19. You may have been one of those 100. Hopefully you weren't. Moving on. Let's talk about Kronos. This is an update from the massive HR system that is Kronos and payment system and all that kind of stuff. More disclosures have happened in the last week or so, and this week it is sportswear manufacturer Puma and 6,632 Puma employees were affected by this. Kronos continues to be one of those things that we'll hear about for some time as they were massive. Moving on. Let's talk about Bitfinex. This is an update for Bitfinex. I actually did an entire video and podcast on this one, and go check it out. I think this is one of the most fascinating cases about online cryptocurrency money laundering that we have seen. But here's some of the basics right there. The U.S. Department of Justice announced on February 8th that it seized more than 94,000 Bitcoins basically stolen from Bitfinex's cryptocurrency exchange in 2016 and arrested a New York couple connected with basically attempts to launder those funds. For the record, 94,000 Bitcoins retrieved by essentially the IRS is $3.4 billion in U.S. currency. Now, this couple, Ilya Lichtenstein, age 34, and his wife, Heather Morgan, age 31, basically both from New York City, are scheduled to be arraigned in New York court. And basically, I believe that has already happened as you are probably listening to this. This one is super, super interesting. So go to my YouTube channel or go to my SoundCloud channel or page or whatever and listen to that podcast or that video. It is really fascinating how they attempted to essentially launder these Bitcoins digitally around the globe, and just how interesting it is that governments have this really sophisticated tracking mechanism and systems that they can actually start watching the movement of these things, which I think really is really fascinating. So go watch and listen to that. I didn't want to spend like 20 minutes on here, on Breaches of the Week doing that, but that is a really, really cool one. And finally, and this is also really going to dovetail in with the deep dive I'm doing on my radio show this week. We're going to be talking about the Freedom Convoy. Now, these are basically the Freedom Convoy. These are the ones that are basically Canadian truckers and a lot of other people. Again, that's more on the deep dive side. This part I'm not going to be talking about on the deep dive, but as an overview, these are the truckers that are basically blocking Ottawa, the capital of Canada right now. And this is what's going on that's, I think, really interesting. People who donated to support the truckers are currently participating in Canada's Freedom Convoy could have had their passport and driver's license photos exposed due to a security lapse on the donation site the Freedom Convoy is using, known as Give, Send, Go. I will actually be talking about that in my deep dive in depth, not the data breach, but Give, Send, Go. Now, while the protests began in January and they initially started accepting donations using GoFundMe, there you go. That got shut down, so they moved to Give, Send, Go. And as a result of that, the truckers behind the convoy decided to switch, and there you go. They processed over $4.5 million in donations from Give, Send, Go for the Freedom Convoy. And basically, it was kind of a adopt a trucker campaign, meaning let's support them. Let's, as they are shutting down essentially the flow of traffic, to and from the government. I mean, it's absolutely nuts right there. It's a fascinating situation. I actually have an article coming out on this one as well. I've done a lot of homework on the Freedom Convoy, and it's not as cut and dry as you think it is. It's not just a whole bunch of well-meaning truckers that have disagreements. It goes way deeper than that. Again, stick around for my deep dive on my radio show to hear that one. Now, in addition to this huge influx of donations, Give, Send, Go also saw a ton of malicious traffic to its sites, and that's according to its founder. And I quote the founder, Jacob Wells, right now. Along with a tremendous showing of support, there has also been plenty of pushback. We've seen nearly 10 million bots trying to overwhelm our servers in just the past 2 hours. This has caused issues for the platform. We will not let it stand in the way of providing a safe and effective means of fundraising for our campaign owner across the globe. Now, I think this is a really interesting one. Like I said, my deep dive on the radio show, this week is on this one. So stick around for the Freedom Convoy, which would be the next segment after Breaches of the Week. So there you go. But those were the breaches of the week. Ton of them, like I said, interesting, and it just keeps getting worse and worse out there, and here we are. But there you go. Those were your breaches of the week. If you were affected, let me know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.